Welcome back to our channel. Today we will bring to viewers the exciting and dramatic developments of the movie Beyond the Gates, which was broadcast during the prison week of May 26 to 30th. Darkness always lurks in the hidden corners that no one expected. For Eva, life seemed to have been drawn according to a safe, peaceful, and loving pattern. Ted, the father she always respected, raised her with all the dedication and strictness that was proper. Leslie, the gentle and understanding mother, was the only peaceful place in her heart since childhood. But then everything collapsed, like a landslide that had silently accumulated for 20 years, just waiting for the right moment to bury all the beliefs Eva had. The truth had been buried for too long. It started with a seemingly trivial accident, a random medical test that Eva performed because she suspected she had a genetic disease. The results are shocking. Her blood type doesn't match Ted's, and this sends her on a journey to find her true identity. At first, she thinks it might be a technical error. But then a cold feeling creeps into her mind, the feeling that something deeper and darker is being hidden. Eva sneaks up on Dylan, a DNA technician at the lab where the sample is being analyzed. With stealth and instinct, Dylan accesses the archives and discovers a deleted file. In the brief moment before the data is lost forever, Dylan manages to capture a name, Alex Chambers. In the dim light of his office, Dylan sits motionless for hours, the details of the old case playing out in his mind like a nightmare awakened. Alex Chambers was a controversial figure in a murder case more than 2 decades ago. The case was never conclusively concluded, but the evidence at the time was enough to make him the prime suspect. After being cleared of suspicion due to lack of evidence, Alex disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he went, and no one dared to mention his name publicly. And now, he has appeared in a DNA database linked to Eva, and the results confirm that he is her biological father. When Dylan called Eva to tell her the news, he had no idea that less than 48 hours later, his body would be discovered in the old Cedar Grove Cemetery, half buried in wet soil, still clutching the USB containing the fateful data. Dylan's death not only shocked but also frightened, especially Leslie. Leslie, the only person who knew the truth about Eva's biological father, had lived with the secret for 20 years. She was the one who bribed Dylan to erase the original DNA results, and forged the papers to ensure that Ted, the husband she once loved, would never suspect anything. But Dylan's death had awakened all the panic in her. Unable to contain herself, Leslie went to the police station and reported that Alex Chambers had returned, and that he might have killed Dylan to cover up the evidence. The police began to reopen the old file, but everything about Alex was a ghost. No address, no real identity, no trace in the system. Meanwhile, Eva, who was on the verge of an emotional breakdown, suddenly disappeared. No one knew where she went. Her phone was turned off, her social media accounts were deactivated, and her personal car was abandoned near the suburban area bordering Cedar Ridge. Ted was crazy with worry. Leslie collapses, believing that Eva has been seduced by Alex and is with him, a man she believes is a cold-blooded killer. When the police trace the surveillance cameras, they find Eva walking with a middle-aged man, cautious and avoiding the camera. They walk down a trail into the woods, where there are no cameras, no signs of civilization. The police cannot identify the man, but Leslie knows. She is certain it is Alex. During the days of her disappearance, Eva lives in hiding with Alex in a cabin deep in the Cedar Ridge forest. She is torn between reason and emotion, between the harsh truth and what the man in front of her shares. Alex does not deny that he was once a suspect in a murder. But he insists that he was set up, and because of that trap, he had to give up his old life to live with a new identity. He had no idea of Eva's existence, and now that he had met her again, he only wanted a small chance to tell his forgotten side of the story. Eva began to doubt everything. She questioned Dylan's death, Leslie's panic attacks, even what Ted had done when she was a child. She remembered Ted's irrational outbursts, his controlling behavior that she had thought was caring. She began to feel disoriented, as if her whole life had been a series of carefully crafted lies. One rainy night, footsteps echoed through the woods. Ted had found them. He had a gun in his hand and a look of hatred in his eyes. No words, no warning. He pointed the gun at Alex, and in a moment of suffocating tension, the shot rang out. Birds broke their nests, branches shook. A figure fell, blood staining the ground. Eva screamed in despair, her screams drowned out by the cold jungle. After that shot, no one knew what happened next. The rescuers found only a chaotic trail of blood, a tangle of footprints, and a torn piece of clothing. No one had seen a body. No one knew whether it was Ted or Alex who had collapsed. Eva was no longer there. Rumors spread throughout the town. Some said Eva had fled deep into the woods, living with one of the two men as a wandering spirit. Others believed she had killed herself because she could not bear the truth. But what scared everyone most was the feeling that the secret was not over. Every year, on the day the gunshots rang out that year, a bouquet of red flowers was left at the edge of the Cedar Ridge woods. No one knew who had left it. The story of Eva, Ted, Alex, and Leslie gradually became the dark legend of that small town. The police launched an extensive investigation, but all they found was confusion, conflicting accounts, and evidence that grew increasingly blurred as time went on. No body was ever found. There was no clear clue as to who had shot her, who had been shot, or where Eva had gone. It was all a hollow hole, where every theory could be right and wrong at the same time. Leslie had become a shadow of herself. She lived in a house that had once been filled with laughter, but now contained only faded old photographs and the sound of the wind whistling through the windows on cold nights. Every time someone asked about Eva, her eyes became distant, as if she were seeing her daughter in another world, a world she had helped destroy. The unrelenting torment gnawed at her every day, every night. In her diary, Leslie confesses that she created the monster called the past, when she chose to protect her reputation and stability over the truth. The police cannot find Alex because he has lived under a false identity for too long. Those who knew him before all assumed he was dead. The remaining data in the forensic files only mention him as a ghost in the unsolved murder case 20 years ago. But in a surprising twist, an old former detective named Marcus, who investigated the case back then, reappears to find out the rest of the story himself. Marcus is the type of person who refuses to leave any mystery unsolved, especially mysteries that smell of blood. He begins to dig through old files, searching for the missing pieces, and soon discovers something terrifying. The murder Alex was suspected of years ago may have been a plot to remove him from the secret information trade between government agencies. What Alex learns could cost many people, and Leslie, a former investigative journalist, may have had more to do with that dark past than she ever admitted. While Marcus is following old leads, something unusual happens. A badly decomposed body is discovered in a deep hole near Cedar Ridge. Although the DNA cannot be analyzed clearly, a disfigured gold ring in the pocket of his shirt matches an item Ted has worn for years. Authorities have tentatively concluded that it is the body of Ted, the man believed to have fired the gun that fateful night. But no one can say for sure. The bullet did not penetrate the skull, the direction of the shot was unknown, and most importantly, there was no trace of Eva or Alex at the scene. Sometime later, at the southern border, an elderly man is caught trying to cross the checkpoint with false papers. When fingerprinting is done, the police discover that he was a suspect in a murder case more than 20 years ago. It is Alex. But what shocks everyone is the appearance of Eva, who voluntarily turns herself in with him. She says that she wants to tell the whole truth, not to convict or clear her name, but to free all the survivors. Eva's testimony takes the whole case in a completely different direction. She recounts that when Ted showed up that night with a gun, he didn't come to kill Alex, but to end it all himself. He felt betrayed, his honor trampled after learning that Eva was not his biological daughter. In a fit of madness, he fired randomly at Alex, but the bullet ricocheted off a tree and lodged in his own stomach. Alex, instead of running away, tried to stop the bleeding, while Eva cried in vain. They buried his body in a deserted place, afraid that no one would believe them. Eva did not dare to return, because she knew that if she told the truth, she would be a traitor, a daughter who chose her biological father over the man who had raised her for 20 years. The truth caused a media storm, and the town was once again divided. Some people thought that Eva was a victim, a person caught in the sinful secrets of the previous generation. Others insisted that she was an accomplice, the one who broke up the family and hid the death of a good man. And Leslie, who had sown the seeds of all the tragedies, chose to quietly disappear from town after the first trial. Alex was convicted of using a false identity and hiding a dead body, but was not convicted of murder because the evidence supported Eva's testimony. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, while Eva was acquitted but placed on mandatory psychiatric supervision. She moved to another city, changed her name, and started over in silence. Marcus, the old detective, wrote the whole story in a memoir that was nearly 1,000 pages long. He called it The Breath of Truth, in which he asserted that there was no sin worse than distorting memories to serve a false sense of security. He said that if Leslie had told the truth from the beginning, if Ted had had the courage to face his feelings of betrayal, if Eva had not been imprisoned by her blind love for her adoptive father, perhaps blood would not have been shed. And then, many years later, in a small house in the suburbs, a woman named Anna, whose eyes were very similar to Eva's, opened a psychological counseling center for victims of past trauma. No one knows who she is, but those who have met her say that there is something both powerful and painful in that woman's eyes. It's as if she has lived 2 lives, one in darkness, one in light. And somewhere, deep in the Cedar Ridge forest, the wind still blows through the leaves, whispering like the whispers of restless souls. Secrets never die. They just lie dormant, waiting for a moment to rise and turn what seemed to be a preordained situation into a new nightmare. Follow our channel to be updated with the most shocking and dramatic developments of the ongoing episode.